8 signs of exceptional aging. After 65, are you one of the rare few? Aging isn't a slow decline, it's a test of resilience. And here's the shocking truth. Some people pass with flying colors while others unknowingly surrender to time. Imagine waking up at 75 feeling just as capable as you did at 50. Imagine carrying groceries effortlessly, standing tall without pain, or playing on the floor with your grandkids without struggling to get back up. Now ask yourself, are you aging exceptionally well, or are you letting your strength slip away without realizing it? In every neighborhood, there are rare individuals who seem to defy time. They are in their late 60s, 70s, even 80s, yet they move, think, and live with an energy that surprises even those younger than them. They're not just lucky, they're doing something right. But what exactly sets them apart? And more importantly, can you still do the things they can? The answer lies in 8 key abilities. Each one is a silent marker of longevity, strength, and independence. And if you're still capable of these things, you are a rare jewel in the journey of aging. Let's uncover what they are. And as we go, challenge yourself. How many of these can you still do? And what will you do to keep them? Stay with us until the end. You might be surprised by what you discover. 1. The strength in your hands. The strength in your life. Margaret never thought much about her grip strength until the day she couldn't open a jar of jam. Standing in her kitchen, struggling with the lid, she felt a flicker of frustration. Was this a sign she was getting weaker? A few years ago, she could twist open jars with ease, carry heavy grocery bags without thinking, and even arm wrestle her grandson just for fun. But now, something had changed. That moment led Margaret to her doctor, who performed a simple grip strength test. She was shocked when he told her that grip strength wasn't just about hand muscles, it was a predictor of overall health, independence, and even longevity. Studies have shown that seniors with a strong grip tend to live longer, recover faster from illness, and maintain their mobility well into their later years. A firm handshake, the ability to hold onto railings, or even carrying a suitcase, these everyday actions reflect far more than we realize. A weak grip can be an early warning sign of declining muscle mass, reduced nerve function, and even heart health issues. It's not just about strength, it's about staying capable, independent, and in control of your own life. Determined not to let this slip away, Margaret took action. She started doing simple hand exercises, squeezing a stress ball while watching television, lifting small weights, and even using a grip strengthener. Within months, she noticed a difference. Not only could she open jars again, but she felt stronger, steadier, and more confident in daily activities. If you can still grip firmly, whether it's shaking hands, holding a coffee mug, or carrying a bag of groceries, you are ahead of many people your age. And if you've noticed a decline, it's never too late to rebuild your strength. Small actions, done consistently, can make all the difference. Think about the last time you held on to something with confidence. Maybe it was your grandchild's hand, a hiking stick on a trail, or even the steering wheel of your car. That strength is a symbol of your ability to live independently. Don't take it for granted. Have you ever noticed changes in your grip strength? What daily tasks remind you of your own resilience? Share your story, because your journey might inspire someone else to hold on a little tighter too. 2. Rising from the floor with ease, a true test of mobility. Paul had always been the kind of person who didn't think twice about movement. At 74, he still enjoyed tending to his garden, kneeling to pull weeds, and standing back up without a second thought. But one afternoon, something changed. As he reached for a fallen trowel, he lowered himself to the ground effortlessly, but when he tried to stand back up, his body hesitated. His knee wobbled. His arms instinctively reached for support. For the first time, he felt stuck. He took a deep breath, adjusted his footing, and finally pushed himself upright, using the edge of a flower bed for leverage. He brushed off the dirt from his hands, but he couldn't brush away the uneasy feeling creeping into his mind. That was harder than it should have been, he admitted to himself. That evening, he did something he had never done before. He tested himself. He sat down on the living room rug and attempted to stand up without using his hands. He wobbled. He reached for the coffee table. He barely made it halfway before having to push off the floor. A quick search online startled him. The ability to get up from the floor without assistance is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. In fact, studies show that people who struggle with this movement are twice as likely to face mobility decline and serious health complications. Paul wasn't ready to give up his independence, so he made a plan. He started small, sitting on a low chair and standing up without using his hands. At first, he wobbled every time, but every day, he practiced. He added gentle squats, core exercises, and balance drills. Slowly but surely, his body responded. One afternoon, weeks later, he was in his garden again. His gardening glove slipped from his hand and landed in the dirt. Without thinking, he lowered himself down, picked it up, and stood back up smoothly, no hands, no hesitation. A small victory, but to him, it was everything. Can you do this? Try it now. Sit on the floor. Now try standing up without using your hands. How did it feel? If it was harder than expected, don't ignore it. This is your chance to regain strength before it becomes a bigger issue. Start with simple exercises, stay consistent, and track your progress. Have you ever had a moment like Paul's? What small changes have helped you stay mobile? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your experience. 3. Walking tall. The silent signal of strength and confidence. Helen always prided herself on walking with grace. As a former dance instructor, she had spent decades teaching others the importance of posture head high, shoulders back, core engaged. But one afternoon, as she caught her reflection in a store window, she barely recognized herself. Her shoulders slumped forward, her back curved slightly, and her head tilted downward. It wasn't just about appearance. Something inside her felt weaker, less stable. She straightened up immediately, but within minutes she found herself sinking back into the familiar hunch. That night, Helen sat at her kitchen table, researching posture and aging. She discovered something that startled her. Poor posture isn't just about looking older. It can lead to chronic back pain, restricted breathing, reduced balance, and even cognitive decline. It can silently steal confidence, mobility, and independence without a person even realizing it. Determined to take back control, Helen made a plan. Each morning, she stood against a wall for a few minutes, practicing proper alignment. She started gentle core exercises to strengthen the muscles that supported her spine. When walking, she imagined a string pulling the top of her head toward the ceiling. It wasn't easy at first, but within weeks, something shifted. One day, at the grocery store, a woman stopped her and said, "You have such wonderful posture. You move like someone much younger." Helen smiled. It wasn't about vanity, it was about feeling strong, balanced, and in control again. If you can still walk tall with ease, take a moment to appreciate it. It means your spine is healthy, your core is engaged, and your muscles are working in harmony. And if you've noticed yourself slouching, now is the time to act. Stand up, roll your shoulders back, take a deep breath and feel the strength in your stance. Walking tall is more than just posture, it's a declaration of vitality. Have you ever caught yourself slouching? What helped you correct it? Share your experience. Your story might inspire someone to stand a little taller today. 4. Rising from a chair without using your hands, a measure of strength and independence. For years, John had a simple morning routine: sit in his favorite chair with a cup of coffee, read the newspaper, and then stand up to start the day. He never thought about it. It was effortless. Until one morning, it wasn't. As he leaned forward to stand, his legs hesitated. Without thinking, he pushed off the armrest to lift himself up. A small thing, barely noticeable, but it lingered in his mind. Later that afternoon, as he settled into his chair again, he decided to test himself. He placed his hands on his lap and tried to stand using only his legs. Halfway up, he felt his thighs tremble. He had to press his palms against the seat to push himself upright. He sat back down and tried again. Same result. A sense of unease crept over him. When had this changed? Was he losing his strength without realizing it? That night, John started reading about leg strength and aging. What he found startled him. Studies show that difficulty rising from a chair without using your hands is one of the earliest signs of declining mobility. It's a key predictor of overall strength, balance, and even longevity. Aging doesn't happen overnight. It happens in moments like these, in the small things we don't notice until we do. Determined to turn things around, John made a change. He started practicing chair stands every morning. At first, he struggled. His legs felt weak, his balance wobbled, but he pushed through. He began incorporating body weight squats and heel raises. He focused on engaging his core, improving his posture. Within weeks, he no longer needed to push off with his hands. Within months, he could stand effortlessly again just like before. One evening at a family gathering, his grandson called him over to sit on the floor and play. Without hesitation, John sat down. When it was time to get up, he did so smoothly, without grabbing onto anything. His daughter, watching from across the room, raised an eyebrow. "Dad, I know people 20 years younger than you who can't do that." John just smiled. "Test yourself. Try this now. Sit in a chair, place your hands on your lap, and stand up without using your arms. Was it easy, or did you feel the urge to push off? If you struggled, don't ignore it. Strength can be rebuilt. Independence can be protected. The effort you put in today determines how you'll live tomorrow." Tell us, did this challenge surprise you? What small signs of strength or weakness have you noticed in your own daily routine? Share your experience below. You never know who you might inspire. 5. Balancing on one foot. A test of stability and strength. Grace had always been active. She loved long walks, gardening, and even the occasional dance class. But at 74, something unexpected happened. One evening, as she was putting on her shoes, she lifted one foot off the ground and wobbled. Instinctively, she reached for the wall to steady herself. It was such a simple moment, yet it unsettled her. Had her balance really gotten worse? She had never struggled with this before. Later that night, she decided to test herself. Standing in the middle of her living room, she lifted one foot again and tried to hold the position. To her surprise, she barely lasted 5 seconds before tipping sideways. The next day, Grace mentioned it to her doctor, who nodded knowingly. Your ability to balance on one foot is actually a major indicator of overall health, he explained. People with poor balance have a much higher risk of falls, which are one of the leading causes of injury in older adults. He encouraged her to work on simple balance exercises to regain her stability. Determined, Grace made it part of her daily routine. She practiced standing on one foot while brushing her teeth, walking heel to toe across the room, and doing gentle Tai Chi movements. At first, she still wobbled, but within weeks, she could hold her balance for 15 seconds, then 20. One day, as she reached down to tie her shoes, she lifted one foot effortlessly, realizing she no longer needed to steady herself. That small victory filled her with confidence. If you can still balance on one foot for at least 10 seconds, you're doing better than many your age. It's a sign that your coordination, strength, and neurological function are working in harmony. And if you struggle, don't ignore it. Balance can be improved, just like strength and flexibility. Try it now. Stand up, lift one foot, and count. How long can you hold it? If it's harder than you expected, let this be your motivation to start practicing. Have you ever noticed a change in your balance? What have you done to improve it? Share your story. You never know who you might inspire to take their first step toward greater stability. 6. Carrying groceries without struggle. a silent sign of strength. Linda never thought twice about carrying her groceries until the day she did. One afternoon, after a routine trip to the supermarket, she reached for her grocery bags as she had done countless times before. But this time, something felt different. The bags felt heavier than usual, and as she carried them toward her car, a dull ache spread through her arms. By the time she reached her trunk, she was out of breath. She stood there for a moment, surprised. Just a few years ago, she could carry all her bags in one trip without hesitation. Had she really lost that much strength? That night, she reflected on what had changed. She had always been active, but lately, she had been skipping her morning walks. She hadn't done any strength training in years. Could something as simple as carrying groceries really be a measure of her overall health? It turns out it is. Studies show that grip strength and upper body endurance are strong indicators of longevity. When these start to decline, it's often a sign of muscle loss, decreased bone density, and even an increased risk of falls. Determined to rebuild her strength, Linda started small. She practiced carrying her grocery bags in both hands instead of using a cart. She added simple weight exercises to her routine, lifting small dumbbells while watching television. Even activities like gardening and housework helped engage her muscles. A few months later, something changed. She found herself at the grocery store again, lifting her bags with ease. The strain was gone. She felt capable again, in control of her own body. If you can still carry groceries, move furniture, or lift objects without strain, take pride in it. These everyday actions are proof of your functional strength, something that many people lose with age. And if you've noticed a decline, don't wait. Strength can be rebuilt, no matter your age. The next time you pick up a bag of groceries, pay attention. Does it feel heavier than before? If so, consider it a wake-up cologne you can answer with action. 7. Getting down and up without assistance. A true measure of mobility. Michael had always been proud of his independence. At 76, he still drove himself to the store, mowed his own lawn, and played on the floor with his grandkids. But one afternoon, something happened that shook him. He was helping his grandson build a toy train set when he decided to sit on the floor to get a better angle. The moment was joyful until it was time to get back up. He placed one hand on his knee, then another on the coffee table, pushing himself upward with effort. When he finally stood, he felt a twinge of frustration. When had this become hard? That evening, he couldn't shake the thought. He had always taken his mobility for granted, but now he realized something's ability to get up and down freely wasn't just about comfort. It was about control, confidence, and long-term independence. A bit of research confirmed his fears. Studies show that difficulty getting up from the floor without assistance is a strong predictor of future mobility decline and even longevity. The weaker the muscles, the harder simple movements become, leading to a cycle of inactivity and further loss of strength. Determined to turn things around, Michael started small. He practiced lowering himself into a seated position and rising without using his hands. At first, he could barely manage, but over time, he improved. He incorporated squats, core exercises, and gentle stretching. Slowly but surely, he regained the strength he had lost. A few months later, while playing with his grandson again, he noticed something different. When it was time to stand, he did it effortlessly, no hands, no hesitation. If you can still lower yourself to the floor and get up without assistance, take pride in it. It means your body is strong, flexible, and coordinated. And if it has become difficult, don't ignore it. Small, consistent efforts can rebuild your strength, just like Michael did. Try it now. Sit down on the floor and stand back up. How did it feel? If it was harder than you expected, let this be your motivation to take action. Have you ever struggled with this movement? What have you done to maintain your mobility? Share your experience. Your journey might inspire someone else to keep moving. 8. The mental sharpness to stay independent. A mind that stays strong. Eleanor always prided herself on her quick wit. At 78, She still loved crossword puzzles, lively debates, and reading historical novels. But one day she stood in her kitchen staring at the open refrigerator, completely forgetting what she had come for. It was just a momentone brief lapse, but it unsettled her. She brushed it off, telling herself that forgetfulness was just a part of aging. But as days passed, she noticed more little slips. Misplacing her glasses, struggling to recall a neighbor's name, losing her train of thought mid-sentence. Concerned, Eleanor decided to be proactive. She made an appointment with her doctor, who reassured her that occasional forgetfulness was normal, but also encouraged her to keep her brain active. "Your mind is like a muscle," he said. "The more you use it, the stronger it stays." Taking his advice to heart, Eleanor made a change. She began learning Spanish, something she had always wanted to do. She joined a local book club to discuss novels with friends. Every morning, instead of passively watching the news, she wrote down 5 things she had learned. Within months, she felt sharper, more engaged. The foggy moments became fewer, and her confidence in her own mind returned. One evening at dinner, her son laughed, shaking his head. "Mom, you remember more details than I do," he said. She smiled. She had taken control of her mental health, just as she had her physical well-being. If you can still recall details, engage in deep conversations, and learn new things, cherish it. Mental sharpness isn't just about memory, it's about staying engaged, curious, and independent. And if you've noticed small changes, don't ignore them. Just like your body, your brain needs exercise. Challenge yourself daily. Read something new. Try a brain game. Learn a skill. Keep your mind as active as your body. Aging isn't about losing, it's about choosing. Every ability we've explored, the strength in your hands, the balance in your step, the sharpness of your mindies within your control. But here's the hard truth. If you don't use it, you will lose it. The difference between those who age with strength and those who struggle isn't luck, it's action. So, what will you choose? Will you let time take what's yours, or will you fight for your independence zone step, one stretch, one challenge at a time? Here's your challenge. Pick one ability from this list and commit to improving it starting today. Whether it's testing your grip strength, practicing standing from a chair without using your hands, or simply walking taller, small efforts lead to big changes. And now, we want to hear from you. Which of these 8 signs stood out to you the most? Have you experienced a moment where you realized your body was changing? What have you done to stay strong? Drop a comment below, read every single one. If this inspired you, don't stop here. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another video. Your support helps us create more content that empowers, educates, and uplifts. Aging isn't the end, it's an opportunity. So let's age exceptionally together.